Welcome to Billion Dollar Marketing Secrets Over Coffee with Biz Coach Steve Feld. Biz Coach Steve interviews fellow successful business owners about the strategies they have used to grow their businesses, and in turn, you can use them to help you navigate your business towards success. Ready to learn strategies to grow your business with less stress and build a long-term sustainable business to exceed your personal and business financial goals to build the business of your dreams? Well, you have come to the right place. Please welcome Biz Coach Steve Feld.
Hello, fellow business owners, and welcome to another episode of Experts Over Coffee. I'm Biz Coach Steve Feld, and my goal is to stop business owners from suffering entrepreneurial depression and make running their businesses easier, more fun, and highly profitable so they can reach seven figures and beyond. Today, we have Grail Noble. Now, Grail, she's the CEO and founder of Yellow House Events based in Toronto. Yellow House works all over the world to create experiences that drive business relationships forward. Both her agency and Grail have won awards for their work, business growth, and entrepreneurship. Please welcome Grail.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Great. Well, the first question I always have to ask people is like, well, tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get into doing what you're doing?
It's a great question. So a bit about me, I went to university, and even at university while studying, found myself always involved in events, always creating some kind of an experience. Back in those days, they were charitable events, and I just loved that the excitement of bringing people together live and what you can achieve for a brand, for a charity, and for anyone when you do it in person. So that was how it all started. And I started the business after I'd worked on the corporate side for many years. I started the business, went out on my own, 20 years ago now, and have never looked back since. I love being a business owner and love doing what I do, despite the pandemic, which really tested those of us in the events industry particularly hard.
That was so true. It really tested the businesses that can really adjust, pivot, and actually had some systems and processes in place.
Yeah.
Versus the businesses that didn't have like those systems in place, they got hit the hardest.
That's true. Agreed.
They didn't know how to pivot. It was scramble mode.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, I mean, I know you're a big fan of process, but I've been asked the question, how did I grow the business? Especially events, it's a service-based business. It's not like tweaking something on a production line where you can say, okay, we're going to increase productivity.
Right.
Events is it's a labor of love, quite literally. But process is the only way to scale a service-based business, and making sure there's a consistency to what you put out and how you train your people and what experience you provide to your customers is the only way, I'd say, to scale a service-based business. So I'm a huge fan of process as well, just like you are.
Absolutely. I work primarily with service-based businesses. Once in a blue moon, a manufacturer will come by, but it's so true. It's like, because the market shifts so much in many different service industries. And our fads, our preferences change, social media changes, communication changes. It's constantly moving. And if you're not ready for all that in a service-based business, I think you get left behind, or you're still trying to figure out which way's up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, who are your primary clientele? Who do you like working with, and who attracts to you?
Yeah, it's another great question. My clients are corporate, so we do events, but we don't do personal events. We don't do weddings, bar mitzvahs, birthdays. We do business events or non-for-profit events with a business purpose. My clients, I do have a lot of blue chip, large enterprise clients. So some of the big ones, we work with Walmart, we work with Meta, we work with Skip the Dishes, we work with Ernst & Young, we work with so a lot of those bigger name companies, but we also work with some nimble startups in the Silicon Valley. We also work with smaller, medium businesses who are trying to build their culture and build retention amongst their clients and customers. So we work with some of those clients as well. And then who is attracted to us? I would say I would say it's anyone who wants to put together an event or provide an experience, but do it differently. If you want to run your seminar at the Hilton or Holiday Inn at the airport, we're probably not the company for you. If you really want to do something experiential, something different, something wow-worthy, and something that really integrates the brand and the message, then that's where we come in and we can do some really cool things together. So we do everything from big conferences to corporate retreats, which is a part of the business that's grown, especially post-COVID. People really are finding ways to take their top people, whether those are internal or external stakeholders, and have meaningful dialogue and experiences with them in a small setting that's more VIP. And so we're doing quite a lot of those type of events, which we love.
You brought up a good point, because I'm hearing it from many businesses. It's that expertise or that experimental or the interactiveness now with events. Yeah. Whereas pre-pandemic, it was like, hey, let's go to a hotel and have our annual retreat for 4 days.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I'm hearing it's like, no, let's go to somewhere exotic and make it an experience that we're going to go scuba diving plus half a day in the room.
Yeah, exactly. I think, people really connect on a shared experience. Mm-hmm. So creating those opportunities for people to share something that they can talk about that's not just the transaction between them, if you will, or the business relationship between them. So we actually know from research that people do business with people they like. People do business with people. They don't actually do business with businesses. So, yes, of course, all things being relatively equal, you have to have a good product or a good service. But after that, it becomes about the people. And, what has been difficult during the pandemic is how do we connect with our people? How do salespeople connect with their with the people that they used to call on in person? I should mention, actually, one of our largest clients is LinkedIn, and we've been able to do some really amazing things with them over the last couple of years that have, in a digital and virtual way as well as live, allowed them to still connect with their customers, their B2B customers, versus their consumer users, which are different. So yeah, I think it's about bringing people together to share an experience, to have good conversation, thought leadership, really talk and really, feel some of the same feelings. And then, no conference can just be, it's got to be a stage in the round, and there's got to be food trucks, and there's got to be, things being flown in, and, it's got to be worth getting off the couch, quite honestly, and going to and attending and taking that risk.
I totally agree. I mean, we were talking about this before we hit record. It's like getting on stage, speaking at conferences, and it always blows me away. There's certain conferences that are like all business. Yeah. And then they have their keynote at night, and that's like their get out time or their happy hour. And then you go to other conferences and it's like they end at 3 p.m, and then they're going to go like on a Jeep tour or parasailing. I mean, it's just like totally different events. Now, when a company comes to you, are they going like, hey, we want to blow minds out. We want to really get our message across. And you help them from A to Z?
Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes they'll come to us with a concept and say, this is what we want to do. Can you help us bring it to life? And then other times they'll say, here's our business challenge. You tell us how to engage, these stakeholders or help build this brand. So we love both, but we're definitely involved in everything from the initial outreach and marketing, and the experience for all of us starts digitally, right? How did I get invited? How do they find me? What's gonna, what do they know about me even coming in? And then we can take it, through the full experience. And now we're into, there's UX. Everyone understands what UX is, and user experience design. But that's really impacted events lately because you've got that digital component, then it comes into the live component, and then you've got to bring it back to the digital component at the end. So yeah, we help our clients with all of the pieces from the beginning, the middle, and the end.
Yeah, it's definitely shifted from pre-pandemic where everyone needs to get in a room and we'll put it on the big screen and have a nice day, to now it's like, hey, it's going to be hybrid. So you're going to have people in a room, people sitting in their offices, sitting at home.
Yeah.
And then we're going to record it so you can all watch it later.
Exactly. And we've been calling those evergreen events, but these events that actually last year round, because that content stays live year round. It doesn't mean that experience that happened in the flesh and in the moment, that spontaneity of a live event didn't happen, but the evergreen nature of the rest of the content living online digitally has really changed the industry. Yeah.
Nice. I'm going to shift gears a little bit and let's talk about your business, you and your business. So how long have you been in business? And I know business is not about, unicorns dancing over rainbows in a glitter shower. It's also about train wrecks. So tell us how long you've been in business and give us an example of a challenge. I mean, I'm even going to say a failure that happened in your business.
I will never say there's ever a failure. I don't believe in failure at all. Not because we're too good to fail, but because I just think there's no such thing as failure. There's only learning. And generally you can take those failures, turn them into successes, and create. Without failure, you have no what are you testing and how are you improving your product. Yeah. So won't admit to any failure. But live events is an interesting study, if you will, in failure, because there's not a lot of marketing initiatives that if something goes wrong, it's happening live. There's no do-over. There's no can we press stop and re-record? Can you edit that out? Can I withdraw that ad because it didn't work, it didn't play well with audiences? It's happening live. And the worst part is you probably have your most important stakeholders in the room who've taken their time, which is their most cherished commodity, and come down to witness your train wreck. So events, I think, already prepares you for being able to pivot and being able to manage. What do you do if the power goes down in the middle of your keynote? And how do you manage the gap? What do you do if someone has a panic attack on the stage, or there's a fire down the room next door? There's all kinds of things that can happen at a live event. So we have a crisis plan and a plan B, a plan C, and a plan D for everything we do. And I do believe that then translated into how to help with business changes. So a couple of things. I've been around long enough to know I've been doing this a lot longer, but my business is about 20 years. And I count that from when I first went out on my own. I mean, really when I incorporated and hired staff and so on would probably be more like 16, 17. But a couple of things that we survived along the way was a recession. So again, if there's one thing events is not, it's a recession-proof business. It was a major recession and everything got canceled. And then the other thing we survived was BlackBerry. So BlackBerry was a really important client to me. They were very much part of our growth and our success. We were one of only 2 agencies that worked with them, and we worked with them globally because they were a Canadian company and we were a Canadian agency, and so they trusted us with their brand. But then when things literally crashed, it happened quickly. I remember standing in a warehouse, huge warehouse full of touch screens and displays and exhibits, quite complicated tech. As far as the eye could see, experiential activations, that type of thing that we had built over the years to demo the product and to take the product on the road. And standing there with my client, he's like, we've got to destroy this all because we can't afford to pay to warehouse it. So, it took us years to build it, and then about 3 months to get from them being 65% of my business to 0 was a major blow. So by the time the pandemic came, I'd lived through losing, the bulk of your business in a couple of weeks before and survived. So, back to the recession, this is going to sound so so small, and it was such a success for us, is we created, so all of our clients stopped spending money on events, and here we were, and I had staff and an office, to pay for. So we went out and bought lucky money trees. I don't know if you know that, it's the Asian money tree, and we had custom pots made, and we created a fun little tag about saving green, and said, please, take care of this money tree, water it. It's lucky money tree. And I'll tell you, it doesn't matter what belief system people have, they're not screwing around with a lucky money tree. They'll water it. So we dropped those off at clients and potential clients' offices and said, keep this alive and well, and the money will follow. And as a result, we got 3 or 4 big clients a couple of months later as a result of that promo piece. People enjoyed it because it was a little tongue in cheek. It was a personal, we called it a desk drop, but we personally went by and dropped them off. The one company that Virgin was one of the companies that came and worked with us after that. And, so we did a ton of work with them for many years after that. So, just sort of keeping it positive. The other thing we did was we created the Good News Tour, and we broadcast out good news and good information with business success, where all we were hearing about was the doom and gloom of every day in business.
Right.
People were tired of it. So that was, our brand is about positivity. Our brand is about creativity. And so we stuck true to our brand values and, kept marketing ourselves through that. And then also we became we made sure we were a price sensitive option for people. And that, helped them get through, even the optics of hiring us during the recession. So that's how we got through that. BlackBerry I'd planned for. I had a couple of clients, new big clients waiting in the wings, and was able to pivot. And then, of course, 2020, we probably came off our busiest, most lucrative year to, how it went, zero events in about a 2.5-week period. We were lucky to have a client, Intuit, makers of QuickBooks, who support small business as well. And they were willing to turn their big conference that we were working on with them into a virtual conference really quickly. So that allowed us to really move forward on virtual platform research, investing in a platform. And we produced our first fully virtual event for just under 1,000 people about 5 weeks later. So it was a hard pivot. It was, I hired coders and designers and tech people that were, not necessarily on my everyday payroll to make that pivot happen. So there's 3 pivots that happened as a result of things, some sort of out of my control. So that's business, right? That's it. If you can't pivot, you're going to die for sure.
That's it. And you brought, but I mean, even through recessions, pandemic, there was a lot of businesses, 2020 was my best year, because the businesses were all of a sudden realizing like, I don't have a business to sell, because they were talking to business brokers like, hey, this is a good time to sell. And every business broker is telling them to go pound sand. You don't have a business. And so I started working on business. Some businesses took action, and now they've had their last 2 years have been their best years.
Yeah.
And then other businesses like, well, I'll make my own changes, and they're gone. And other businesses like, well, I'm not going to change them. They're definitely gone. So you meant that's a great point, is like all businesses need to be ready to be nimble. It doesn't matter, even the big companies who takes like, a year to turn that ship.
Yeah.
They've all of a sudden became a little bit more nimble during
and probably they needed that. Maybe that was the innovation and evolution that they needed. I think even as much as big companies don't really love the fact that their employees aren't returning to corporate office space in the droves they'd hoped, maybe we really needed to rethink where and how people work, and these long commutes and sitting under bright lights and office cubicles. Maybe we really needed to rethink that. So sometimes we're forced to be creative and do what you had to do anyway, but it's not that easy. I mean, you've got to be able to, I think, if you keep true to what your core business is. So for example, I could say I'm in events, and now it's COVID and no events can happen. And that's, I think, a very narrow way of looking at it. But instead, I'm in the business of experiences. I'm in marketing. I'm in the business of helping other businesses connect with their customers so they can grow their businesses. So with that in mind, even though live events went away, LinkedIn, our client turned to us and said, all right, well, what else can we do? And so we developed a digital online gifting program for them, that a rewards program that allowed their teams to go out and continue to, reach out to their customers and show their customers they cared. And we developed a charity wraparound. So I'm still in the business of experiences, whatever that is. And I think the businesses that took a hard look at their why and what business they're truly in weren't as impacted by the external forces. And hopefully, they say there's another recession coming. So hopefully I'm not, I'm able to get through this one too and pivot as needed.
Excellent. Well, I hope so as well. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because people think they're in one industry. When they really start looking at it, you're in different areas. It's like, for years I was thinking, well, I help business owners grow their business and become profitable, put systems and processes in place so one day they can sell their business. And then one of my clients, I noticed he was stuck, and it was because he is having problems at home. So it's like, well, let's stop and fix that right now. And it was a simple solution that, this is going to sound crazy, took 15 minutes to solve. Wow. And he's been struggling with it for years and years, and he's about ready to get divorced. We fixed it in 15 minutes. And then he's like, you saved my marriage. And I've talked to other business owners. They're like, you're also saving marriages besides saving businesses. And I'm like, oh. So it really,
that's really interesting. We're human beings, right? So we are personally and mentally, and our heads and our hearts are equally involved in our businesses. And you're exactly right. If things aren't good at home, it's very hard to make a business work.
It is so true. And especially for new entrepreneurs that don't understand that. And as experienced entrepreneurs, we all get to that complacency point, and we got to realize, wait a minute, we got to take care of the home as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's a great point.
But what is one thing you might tell a business owner right now, it doesn't matter what industry, what they should be focusing on right now or looking at?
This is so been said, and it's such a cheesy old Canadian hockey quote, but it's go to where the puck is going, not where the puck is. It's the Wayne Gretzky quote. But things are moving quickly, and I think ice hockey is a good example of where you take a sport and then you put it on blades, and then you just speed it up. And I think that's where we're at. If you're starting a business now, everything is just quicker. It's like jumping onto the treadmill when it's already going quite quickly. And so if you're looking at the treadmill and where you're going to jump in, you're probably going to fall off. If you're looking ahead, that's the only way. So yeah, my advice would be, to look ahead and to plan for what's coming instead of trying to plan for what's immediately in front of you. I mean, it is a given that you need to be prepared for what's immediately in front of you, of course, too. But I would say that's a big one. Another one I would say for business owners is there are a lot of people now who think that the way to start a business is to go and get a bunch of financing. And they focus on that, and they put everything around going and getting that financing. And financing is really important for a growth company or for a startup. But you really should be looking at a business model that your sales should be your financing. And if your sales can generate the revenue you need, there are a lot of people who, and we even see them as clients sometimes, they'll come in and say, okay, I just got an injection of X million dollars. I'm going to do this, 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 and this. But it's, unless you're self-financing, you don't really have a business. Right. You only have a business when you are bringing in revenue that is making you profitable. So that's another one I would say, is just to remind business owners that the success in business is not when you land that financing.
Right.
That's just alone. The success is when you're actually sustainable, so sales. I mean, I think we all know as business owners, I mean, most of us, if you're the business owner, this could be true for you as well. Your job is to drive revenue, get new clients. That's it. Anyone in the corner office, even of a huge multinational corporation, the job of the person in the corner office is to bring in revenue and to build those relationships. And it's easy to forget that because it's easy to get lost in the operations and get lost in the other things that need to be done. But without revenue, there is no business. You can have all the processes in the world. You can have the most beautifully laid out business. You can even have a business that has a brilliant business plan and is a great concept. But if you can't sell it to somebody, not sell the business, but if you can't get your customers to buy into what you're selling, there is no business. So I think when I talk to new owners, I always want to, my questions are always, how are you monetizing that?
Right.
How are you selling that? What are your customers saying? Who are your customers? So that's the piece that I think is easy to forget.
It's true. And a lot of businesses, speaking of, startups, they don't know who their market is or the problems that they have and how they're solving them. And then they can't figure out why they're not making a penny. It's like, well, you're just not, it doesn't hit with anyone. And then the more experienced businesses, they also lose that fact. Just like you mentioned, even your controller, your accountants that you have in your business, guess what? They are actually part of your sales team.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of businesses don't look at it that way. It's like, because they're talking to vendors all the time, suppliers.
Yeah.
By giving them that great customer service and then throwing in something about the business, something simple in a normal conversation could lead to better terms. It could be, better, a whole bunch of, cost savings. It could be, revenue increasing.
Mm-hmm.
So many ways to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I think too, one of the indicators for me of whether a business is going to be successful is if I were to randomly poll or talk to any one of the employees from it doesn't matter who they are, not in the marketing team, and ask them what problem their business is solving and see how they talk about their business and their brand. And if your immediate employees can't articulate exactly what it is that differentiates you, that makes what you do different and why customers should do business with you. If they can't articulate that, then you probably haven't done the brand work you need to do. And it starts internally, as you said. I mean, so much of what, especially if you're in a B2B type of business, so much of it comes from vendors,
right?
And the people that your employees are interacting with. So again, as sort of a common theme for this conversation today has been, people do business with people.
Right. And it's so true. I've done that polling inside of companies I've worked with, and it shocked me. And I'd come back to the owner, CEO, and go, here are the results. Like, talk about a disengaged audience. You can't even say who your own mission. They don't even know why they're here. They got a job and they just want a paycheck and go home. I think we have some work to do. And then once they started going, you're right, and then we start transforming it, all of a sudden that company starts growing like a weed, but everyone's happy and really want to be there and be part of it.
Yeah. And I think, I think that's where, again, it's really challenging for businesses now, because with everyone working from home, this topic comes up, I'm sure it's come up a lot for you, is what is happening to corporate culture. Right. And I've seen some funny memes where, from the employee's perspective, where they're sitting in a near empty office, again, a cubicle with bad lighting, and they're saying, they told me I had to come back to the office for corporate culture, and this is the culture. But, the interesting thing in my business is it's kind of reversed lately. So it used to be 80% of our business was conferences, meetings, thought leadership, B2B type events, activations, promotions, sponsorships, and 20% retreats. And that has flipped because, again, leaders are realizing, how do I connect with these people? How do I bring them together to feel like they care about each other and about the business and about the brand? If you're just doing a job from your kitchen at home, it's difficult. So, you can't force them back to work, but you also need to find ways to connect. And I think that's going to be a big theme for 2023 is how are we connecting with our customers and our staff?
No, that's so true. You've given us a lot of great ideas and a lot of topics today. And I just want to tell all of our listeners, if you want to get a hold of Grail, we're going to have our information in the show notes. So please take advantage of it. If you're looking for that experience, your company to reconnect, if you will, because a lot of people still are locked up in different parts of the world, or they're, stuck at home, in the kitchen, right, doing their work. And it's time to get them out and reconnect in many different ways, even if it is a virtual. Get a hold of Grail and get that experience for your company.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's Yellow House events, so that's all you need.
So any parting words you'd like to leave with everyone?
No, just I guess what I would like to leave everyone with is a sense of excitement, positivity, and I'm looking into the future, and I think that there's great things to come. And I think it's easy, especially as a business owner. It's terrifying as it is, to get caught up in the, oh my God, now it's a recession. We just came out of a pandemic. Woe is me, Chicken Little, sky is falling. And once you get into that mode, it's very, very difficult to get out of it. So, from all the people I'm speaking to, I think like a phoenix from the ashes, I think that we have a lot to look forward to in 2023. And I think between the technology and what we've learned about ourselves and what we are seeing, yes, there's an energy crisis. Yes, there's war. There's all of those things, but I do feel optimistic about the future and about small business continuing to drive our economy. Oh,
absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. So if you're focused on all that stuff, you cannot take care of your own business.
Exactly. Yeah. So to positivity, right?
That's it. Well, Grail, we had a great time. I want to say thank you for being our guest and sharing your experience.
Thank you very much for having me. I enjoyed it.
And Grail and everyone else, and the coffee, always the coffee.
The jet that fuels us.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's my blood type is coffee.
Anyway, well, thank you.
And if you like Grail and other experts on this show, please make sure you give us a positive review. Gail and I would really like that. And subscribe to the channel and like this episode. I'm Biz Coach Steve Feld, wishing you and your business much success.
We hope you liked today's guest on $1 Billion Marketing Secrets Over Coffee. If you'd like to see how much hidden revenue we can uncover for you, well, click on the link in the show notes to speak with Steve. Mention the podcast when you book the meeting. You will receive a special gift. Make sure to like this episode and subscribe to this podcast to hear other great proven business leaders share their strategies to help you grow your business.